Carnevale is branch manager and financial advisor. Securities offered through Raymond James Financial Services Incorporated, 400 Southbridge Street in Auburn, Massachusetts, 1-800-657-9126. A member of FINRA SIPC and are not deposits, not insured by FDIC or any governmental agency, not guaranteed by Webster 5 Cent Savings Bank, and subject to risk, may lose value. Webster 5 Cent Savings Bank is not affiliated with Raymond James Financial Services Incorporated. The information contained in this report does not purport to be a complete description of the securities markets or developments referred to in the material. The information has been obtained from sources considered to be reliable, but we do not guarantee that the foregoing material is accurate or complete. Any information is not a complete summary or statement of all available data necessary for making an investment decision and does not constitute a recommendation. Any opinions are those of Michael Carnevale and not necessarily those of RJFS or Raymond James. Expressions of opinion are as of this date and are subject to change without notice.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Long Hill Report with Mike Carnevale of Raymond James, who is going to school us on the economy here. Now, since we last spoke, this is Richard Morchoe. Since we last spoke, the world has changed. This is March 4th, and we are involved, or Europe is involved in its biggest land war since World War II, or so I've heard. My big question for Mike is, should I buy the dip? That is, go long ruble futures contract? Should I be going long on Gazprom and the Russian stocks, as supposedly they have hit the floor? So Mike, school us here.
You don't want to touch any of those. Those are all down like 90 to 95%.
But we're buying the dip. You're buying the, well, you're not buying the dip.
Assuming that economy is going to come back.
And you're not sure of
It
that.
may not.
Got a lot of gas there.
Yep, but if they can't sell it to anybody.
You don't think they can sell it to the Chinese?
I don't know about that. I think we're going to find out how big friends the Chinese are with the Russians. You know, China's been rather quiet the last week or so. Hasn't really said anything. And they're probably just sitting back seeing how this all unfolds. Because they don't want to be on the wrong side. China needs us more than Russia does. I mean, our trade with Russia is not great.
No.
Our trade with China is our biggest trader. And so China's going to, I think, you know, for the U.S. economy, this could all turn out pretty good. That's different from, you know, if we're talking humanity and whatnot, it's a totally different subject. But for the U.S. economy, this could turn out all right if suddenly Russia is no longer an economic competitor. That would weaken China a bit. They couldn't play off Russia against us. So it may not be, from an economic standpoint, as bad as a lot of people think it is.
When I was a boy, we were told, you know, Khrushchev, you know, you're too young to remember Khrushchev.
Okay.
And he started buying grain all over the world, and including from us, because the collective farm system didn't grow enough for Russia or the Soviet Union. A few years ago, as I was writing in my book, I did some research. Russia actually became the largest producer of wheat in the world. What Russia has been trying to do, and what's the phrase, autarkic, being self-sufficient in commodities. They've been working to do that. And they've been doing a fairly good job of it because Putin recognized he can't trust us. Now, Ukraine was the breadbasket.
Right.
But Ukraine wasn't in those figures that Russia is the big producer of wheat.
Right.
So I'm not going to bet against the United States. After all, you've been right so far along. I'm not going to bet against you either.
Mm-hmm.
But Russia, I'm not going to bet against them because A, they've got the petroleum and the gas, and it's there.
Mm-hmm.
But they've also got a lot of other stuff that they're producing.
Yeah.
Now I know somebody, a relative, who sources things to Belarus,
Okay.
and it's not going bad. So go ahead, talk me out of it and say, we're going to win.
Well, I think, if you look at all, strong-armed governments through history, they've all failed. I wouldn't put it by that this is the beginning of the end for Russia, as we know it. It wouldn't surprise me, put it that way. Where everybody's saying, oh no, they just don't want Ukraine, they want the next country, the next country, the next country. Oh, sure they do. Why wouldn't they? But I'm not so sure that they're not going to, as all these strong-powered countries have crumbled from within. I mean, if he loses the control of his own people, which maybe it's starting, then we read one day or we see on the news one day, they found this guy dead.
Okay, the problem I have, the news in the United States is quite often a blatant lie. Very much so.
Okay.
I've been hearing only a steady stream of Russia is terrible, Russia is stupid, Russia is losing. But I saw on an Intel website, Putin's rating since the war started amongst the Russians is going up. And when you say strong arm, why do you believe it's any more, a dictatorship in this country?
Well, I mean, we have
We have an election.
we have a free election, we have a free press,
Come on.
we have a.
I mean, that election, we choose between Tweedledum and Tweedledee.
But that's better than what they're
They
doing.
have an election.
Well, but it's an election of one candidate.
Yeah, and a very popular candidate. I'm not saying it isn't a corrupt election system there. I'm not a Russian.
Yeah.
I want the United States to be better than Russia. But the beat of propaganda that has been ridiculous in this country
Yeah.
is painful for me to see.
Well, I think a lot of it. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I look at things differently than most people. He's in control of the country and all the military, and I say, yeah, he is in control until the day he's not in control.
Sure.
And as soon as it looks like he's slipped, all those generals that are lockstep with him, they'll all turn in a different direction. It's happened country after country after country that's tried to do that.
Tried to do what?
Well, conquer the world, really.
You think they tried to conquer the world? You believe that Putin is thinking, first we go and we take Ukraine, then we go on Poland, then we go to Germany,
Oh, yeah, definitely.
and then we go to France,
Well,
and then we get the British fleet after we
Oh, no.
capture that,
Oh,
and
no,
we
no.
cross the Atlantic, and
Yeah.
we eat all the fried clams.
I'm not saying that, but I'm saying I think he wants more than what he's going after now.
I will say I think he wants defensible borders, and he does not want missiles on his doorstep, and that's what we're trying to do. What would we do if he went into Mexico and said, invited by Mexico, I'll say something.
Yeah.
Mexico wants a defense treaty with him and put missiles on our border. What would we do?
We would probably do something close to what he's doing.
Exactly.
But I don't think we would go to the extreme that he's gone.
Why do you say that's an extreme? I think he's often, NATO, do not, a neutral Ukraine. You can't have a border on a step. A country in NATO on a step. You remember when Baker promised Gorbachev, we will not, these were the words, we will not move NATO one step to the east, eastward. So who's the liar here?
Well, I think at that time, it's a lot different now.
Well, why should we have moved NATO to the east?
Well, because if we didn't do it, Russia would have done it.
Would have done what?
Would have come west.
They were leaving Germany. All they wanted was, they were moving back east. All they wanted was an agreement that we would not move NATO east. They were breaking up the Soviet Union.
Yeah, well, again, I think I guess it becomes who do you believe, and I wouldn't believe anybody, so I certainly wouldn't.
This documentation.
Yeah.
About this.
Yeah, but I still wouldn't believe them.
But you believe the United States government. The government that talked to you about weapons of mass destruction, that talked to you about the incubators in Kuwait.
Oh.
You would believe the Tonkin Gulf. You would believe the United States.
Because that proved to be wrong.
It proved to be a lie.
Right, but what they're talking about now, at least so far, the intelligence, I think, has been right.
Name one bit of intelligence that's been right.
The fact that
he would move into, he would eventually invade.
Right.
That turned out to be right.
Right. That
Now,
he would use these false pretenses to.
What false pretenses?
Well, the.
He basically has said, first of all, you know what the situation in the Donbass is.
Right.
That's the Ukrainians were shelling those areas, killing people, and taking the territory. They had years to stop, and
Right.
they didn't.
Right.
So what has he done that's so criminal?
Well, he's invaded a
Country
free
that was
country.
giving him a hard time.
I mean, it's still part of that country.
What is part
Well,
of it?
those two
So
regions.
they have, which is ethnic Russians. So they have a right to kill the ethnic Russians.
If they were a threat to the government.
How were they a threat to the government?
Well, I
The
think
government was attacking them, and that's the history of it.
Yeah, but I think it's.
We got to get to the
it's.
economy.
I think it's.
I'm beating you up, and I'm ashamed of myself.
I'm about ready to take out. I don't have a white towel or even a handkerchief with me. I just have.
I do
no,
not want.
I think
I
it's,
want to know where I'm. How I can avoid having to go around with wearing a barrel. And you are confident.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. February was a down month, but we knew February historically is a down month.
Yeah.
Matter of fact,
you made that point the last time.
We have not had an up February in an even numbered year since 2014. So February was just as bad as January was. Well, that's just the numbers. Of course, you can make a case for why that was, but what happened in February? Man, really nothing that historically doesn't happen in February. The market tends to go down. And that's what happened, 3.5%, which was the same as
So that's to be expected.
to be expected.
That's a normal year.
A normal year.
Okay.
Interest rates didn't do much. We look at interest rates by the 30-year Treasury. They're a little bit higher than they were a month ago, but nothing dramatic. Technical indicators all look like, and then you say, well, you take a stance and you say, well, this is going to happen. And we know nothing's etched in stone, but if we look at the technical indicators, the market's probably gone down more than 50% of its decline. We've had 2 straight months down in a row down. Anyways, 10 to 12%. The technical indicators tell me anyways that we probably don't got another 10 or 12% to go down. So everybody who is worried about, again, you're worrying after the fact. I think personally we're getting close to some type of a turnaround. So we've had a lot of news,
So
right?
It's an up. You're seeing, you're optimistic.
Well, I'm optimistic, but like people say, well, when is it going to go up? And I always say, well, it has to first stop going down, and it's still going down. So it's going down. It's going to level off, do nothing, and then we hope go back up. We have a war going on, right? And of course, a lot of phone calls, a lot of people.
I will say one thing about that's in your favor and that. I read somewhere that, yep, there's a war on, and Lockheed and Raytheon salesmen are on their way to Europe.
That's correct.
So that, I got a problem with that, but that is in your economic favor right there.
Right. Okay. So we look at this war between Russia and Ukraine, and of course everyone is saying, oh, how bad it is, oh, market's going to crash, oh, this is the beginning of the end. Well, we take a look at history. I've highlighted two things, but I'll mention three. We had the Gulf War.
Yes.
Market lost 20%. Now that's more than the market has lost so far in Russia, Ukraine. It's down about 10 to 12. The indexes we're talking. That was down, the Gulf War was down 20%. It recovered in 4 months. We then had, before my time, but the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis, the market went down 22%. We're not down anywhere near as that now. Recovered within a year. 2020, we had the pandemic. The market tanked within 6 weeks. We not only recovered, we recovered and went to all-time highs within a year. So history shows that these wars, they have little long-term effect on the stock market. And that's really what, of course it has an effect on a lot of things, but we're really only focusing on, the economy of the stock market. So from that standpoint, what has happened? People will say, oh, the market really went down today because of what's going on in the Ukraine. And I don't want to make light of a situation, but I'll say, yep, sometimes the market goes down during the day. Some days the market goes up. What has changed? And we're thinking, as a long-term investors, right? What has changed? What did the market do? It went down. Has it ever gone down on the day before? Oh, yeah. Okay, so nothing's changed. What happened today? Well, the market went up. Gee, is this the first time it's ever gone up during a day? No, it goes up kind of regularly during the days. Oh, okay, so nothing has really changed. We tend to focus too much on, and we used to say this with Dick, breaking news. It doesn't matter which station you like to watch. Every station is the same.
Yes.
It starts off with some music and breaking news.
Yep.
And sometimes it's a cow that got loose from a pen, and other times it's a robbery or a fire. But it's always breaking news. None of those three events, unless they happen to you, have no effect on you long term.
Of course, true. True enough.
So I tend not to get too excited about, what happens day to day. Because, the market really went down a lot. Yep, it's done that before. And I don't get excited when it really goes up a lot. Because, yep, it's done that before too. You want to look at how any of these events affect the economy. Because that's what ultimately is going to affect investments.
You're exactly correct. And unless it's truly a world-ending event.
Right.
And other than that, Unless somebody like, who's that guy, Lindsey Graham, gets the Air Force to run a no-fly zone and Russia says, all right, that starts a nuclear war.
Right.
Then it's several months, maybe a small guerrilla warfare for a while, but nothing big. You're right. I'm going to give you another question, and I've given you this question before.
Yep.
Because I saw it again. Somebody brought it up to me. They showed a table. Now I remember the 70s, the inflation of the 70s. It was severe. But once they did the painful Volcker thing, it was over, and we went from how many thousand down, or how many less than thousands down to 30,000. We've
under 1,000, well under 1,000.
Yeah.
I get bummed out at 5 something.
So, but we've also seen that how much of that is a function of an ongoing, slow but steady inflation.
Right.
Now,
Right.
I saw a table. Some person brought it up. The money supply has been increased far more than in the 70s.
Right.
What, do you see that as the world-ending thing or the world debilitating thing? How do you see that? And what's going to happen? How's that going to play out?
Well, I think if you can't continue doing that unless you're going to have ever faster growth. And business cycles are made up of growth spurts and contraction spurts. So unless you're going to do away with contraction, eventually you're not going to be able to grow fast enough. Right. But that's assuming we don't do anything to try to change that.
We have another Volcker? Are we going to have to need another Volcker?
Well, you're probably going to need a lot of interest rate hikes.
Which is another Volcker.
Right. To try to slow down spending. But not stop it.
That's an interesting dance.
Right. I mean, can they do it? One group says yes, they can. Another group says no, they can't. No one knows. We'll only know after the fact.
You're confident, though, long term, because you're a long-term guy.
Right.
We're going to come out of it.
I am, because, and it's not anything I know. It's okay. What would I look at? And we talked about this before. What would I look at to confirm my thinking? And that's the 30-year Treasury. Because you and I are not buying 30-year Treasuries.
Not every day of the week.
Right. Institutions are.
Yeah.
And institutions are only going to buy them if they're confident they're going to get their money back. And if they're unsure, then they're going to say, we need a higher interest rate to compensate the risk.
Well, at least in nominal terms, they can always get the money back.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it may not be worth much.
Yeah, okay, so that good clarification there.
So we look at, in January, the 30-year was 210. So what happened in February? Oh, concern about inflation, concern that, the Fed's missed the mark here. They should have raised rates 6 months, a year ago. Oh no, look at this Russia. They're not going to stop at Ukraine. They're going further. Okay, so if the institutions, the powers that are in the know, so to speak, because we're not in the know. If they believed that, they would want more than a 2.10 or 2.18 rate for 30 years.
So the Fed has to.
So the interest rates would have gone up.
We have
What happened? Fed talks every day. 30-year Treasury went from 2.10 to 2.18. So the institutions believe what the Fed is saying. Until that changes, until there's some evidence that that's changing, and you'd know that by higher long-term interest rates. I tend to believe that this is not going to be a problem.
They're serious. You believe they're serious.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, your lived experience is better than mine. So.
I mean, now, if we were at 2.10 a month ago and we're at 3.10 today, you'd say a different tune. You'd say, hey, nobody's believing them.
But they're getting serious if they're going that high, or getting higher.
If they're staying low. Now, the Fed can raise interest rates. They're probably going to this month here in March. Doesn't mean the 30-year Treasury is going higher. If the institutions think, hey, the Fed's on the ball, we believe them, 30-year Treasury may do nothing. But in order to find out whether the institutions believe the Fed or not, you want to look at the longest possible bond. Why? Because that's the bond that has the most risk.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm buying 30-day bonds or short-term Treasury bonds, I don't care what you do because nothing's really going to change in 30 days.
Yeah.
If I'm going to put money out for 30 years, I want to be able to get it back, not at 50 cents on the dollar because interest rates are 10%. Back in the early 80s,
I remember.
that's what you had.
Yeah.
You had treasuries selling for 60 cents on the dollar,
Yeah.
right? Because the Fed had no control. And you'll see that. You'll see treasury yields slowly creeping up if there's some loss of confidence. So, you say, well, what do you think? Well, you can only say what you think today. It could all change tomorrow. But as of today, I think, there's enough confidence in the Fed that, they're going to be able to do what they say they're going to do. That may change, but hasn't yet.
Fingers crossed.
Interest rates are starting to go up around the world,
Yeah.
right? Month of February, we saw Iceland and the Bank of England, New Zealand, and, well, of course, Russia's a special situation, all raised their rates. The European Central Bank did not do anything. Russia raised their rates to 20% from 9.5%. Why did they do that? Because all the money's leaving the country.
Yeah.
And so you say, 20%, again, it's just a number. What does that mean? Well, if you look at other central banks around the world, there are only two central banks that have higher interest rates now. At Zimbabwe, it's 60%.
I want those Zimbabwe bonds.
The trouble is...
I'm short on Argentina. I'm all in Zimbabwe.
Okay. Now the real problem is, how do you get the money out when you convert it that is worth anything?
Well, I'm going. That's going to be a tax haven. I'm leaving. I'm over there. The warmer winters. Come on.
Yeah, but I mean that's kind of where we're at. So that goes back to the don't be surprised if we're beginning to see the end of Russia as we know it. They have to double interest rates to 20% to bribe the citizens to keep their money there.
And what was the highest interest rate in the 80s?
Oh, we were right there.
We were same as Russia.
Yeah.
22%, I
Yeah.
think, was the highest.
Yep. Yep.
I like the Mike Carnevale special situation where he sees we trust the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
the Rams win it, we're going to do well.
Yes.
We're coming out of this.
Well, there's the Super Bowl effect.
The Mike Carnevale, that's part of the Mike Carnevale astrology plan in which we feature here.
Correct.
And he's never wrong.
In fact, at least in his own mind, he's not.
I've got even better delusions than you have.
But no, the Rams, history shows when an old NFL team wins the Super Bowl, the stock market tends to do better. And the Rams are an old NFL team,
Yeah.
prior to that merger
Yeah.
with the AFL. So, it's these oddities that, you say, well, you can't base anything on it. Well, it's as good as in any other indicator you want to
heard
pull
it
out.
ever. We all, and every month he gives us one of those.
I mean, we have a new Federal Reserve Bank of Boston president this coming up in July. You remember the former one, Eric Rosenberg? He kind of got caught up in that trading and
He would, bye, we'll see you later.
Yeah.
I
so
hope you made enough money out of those trades.
yeah. So and the Fed has instituted policies where supposedly that can't continue.
Well, okay.
We'll see.
Well, yeah.
But the new one is a woman. She was an economics professor at the University of Michigan, and she became a U.S. citizen in 1997. So,
Well, she's 1997, so she's certainly been around a while. Mm-hmm. And so she probably can't do any worse than what we've had.
yeah, she's one of 12. So, I think the big thing is, you know, you want to separate emotions from, you know, reality. And I think that's the one thing people in general don't do. And when you let your emotions take control, more often than not, you make bad decisions. Or you make the wrong decision.
I can't agree with you more from my lived experience.
Yeah, I mean, everybody. I mean, it's the same. You know, forget investing. It's just personal life. You know, when you let emotions take control. You know.
Okay, hit us with the leading economic indicators here.
Well, we have the leading economic indicators now. We've been on a nice run, 20 straight months of positive numbers. January came in negative, 0.3%. You know, the 10 components, they're not all weighted equally. The two big ones you want to focus really on is the factory work week and consumer expectations. You know, hey, are people working and they feel good? Because that makes up 42% of the index. And that feeds into our economy because we're really a consumer-based economy. So that's negative. And that's something we got to watch out for because history shows when you have 3 consecutive negative months, recessions can start. And so we had this beautiful run of 20 straight months. That's over. January came in at negative 0.3%. So it's something to say, okay, maybe we have to, you know, we can't be on like autopilot. We have to maybe focus a little more because maybe this is the start of something. But if it is, it's not going to happen tomorrow.
No, okay. So you're saying we've had one negative.
We've had one.
And so February, we're waiting on the figures.
We're in February, and then we got to see March, and then that will kind of tell you.
So get out there and spend, people.
Yeah, odds have probably increased a bit, right? Because we have higher gas prices, right?
Yeah.
We have higher heating oil prices, you know, grocery prices, prescription drug prices. These have all really gone up a lot. So that's going to cut people's ability to spend more and also make them not feel as positive as maybe they would. That can feed into itself. So, you know, month ago, no fear. Now, obviously, we saw with January, there is a little concern. But it won't happen overnight. So you don't have to run out and, you know,
Thank God.
run home and lock the doors and pull all the shades down. You got to have some time. And then you might do it, and then you might find February was a positive, and you say, gee, now you got to go around and unlock the doors. And
Man, I hate that.
it's wasting time. So,
All right,
you know,
jobless claims.
jobless claims, they continue to do very good. Fewer and fewer people are losing their jobs. Matter of fact, long-term unemployment, which is people out of work for 26 weeks, still looking for a job and still getting benefits. It's at their lowest level since 1970.
Okay.
So fewer and fewer people are losing their jobs. That's a positive. You got the employment report. It's great, fewer and fewer people losing jobs, but are people getting jobs? Well, in January we saw the non-farm jobs up 467,000. History shows we only need 1.4. History shows we only need 150,000 to help the economy.
Okay.
So the economic stuff still looks good.
Okay. So we're saying the outlook for stocks and bonds?
March is usually the turn month. Although it ranks 5th of the 12 months in performance, it's usually a bottoming and the beginning of an upturn. Greatest bull market in history came the March of '09 after the financial crisis.
All right.
Stock was Dow was at 6,500. March, April of 2020, bottom near after the pandemic started, up from there. But with every positive I want to counter with a negative. As in February, we have not had a positive, even year since 2016. 2018 was negative, 2020 was negative. What's going to happen in 2022?
Well, I trust the cyclical aspect of your analysis far more than the Super Bowl and the
Okay.
Rams. I will feel more trusting about that.
Okay.
Because, I mean, you can't move the years no matter what.
You cannot.
All right. Well, Mike, thank you very much for
All
putting
right.
up with us.
And we will be back next month,
We will be back next month, whether you people want us or not.
regardless of what happens.
Thank you very much.